Okay, today's video, we're going to talk about how to track text messages or SMS messages from your PPC campaigns, whether you're running campaigns on Google Ads, Microsoft Ads, which is basically just Bing ads, whether that's Facebook, which I don't have in the title, and all other online advertising platforms or advertising that you do can be done through the Google Analytics. And if you want to track text in Google Analytics, I'm going to explain how you're going to be able to do this in today's video. Now, first of all, the reason why you would want to track text messages in your ad accounts that you're actively advertising from online, at least when you're talking about Google Ads, Microsoft Ads, Facebook ads. If you want to add LinkedIn ads, you could add LinkedIn ads in there as well. These platforms are data driven, meaning any of the results that you're getting on these ad platforms in terms of cost per lead, cost per sale, ROI that you're getting from these campaigns is all based upon how much money you've spent and how much data that you've accrued through the campaigns that you set up. The more data that you've accrued through your account showing what the ad algorithms that serve your ads up and decide if your ad gets shown to somebody or somebody else's ad is all predicated on prior past results, i.e. what's worked, what's not worked. And they break this down on a million different levels. Forget about just looking at age, gender, income level. They're looking at what did this person click on for the last 15 things that they clicked on before they ultimately are going to potentially see this ad. And they study that, and the more data that they have, the better they understand your customer that normally does business with you or client. And so for you guys, which as a side, for you guys that tried to spend a couple $1,000s on ads and said something didn't work or an ad platform didn't work, the reason why it didn't work is because you generally didn't give it enough time. It's not a matter of if it will work, assuming you have a product that sells or service that sells, and you have as good as what other options in your market, that's available in your market. It's not a matter of if it will work for you profitably, it's just a matter of when. How much data you're going to have to collect in order to make money. And so, with all that said, the text message that you get from people that text your number, assuming people are going to text the number on your site normally, or you're going to go ahead and add a text option on your page. That data, that extra data that will feed into your ad platforms and give you an additional bit of data to get you to a profitable state faster and make more money. And then when you are profitable, make even more money faster than you could otherwise. So your goal always with your ads is to, how can I hoover up as much data as I can, qualitative data that I need, that will get me the results. Phone calls, contact form fills, cart purchases, offline sales that occur through offline conversion tracking, and then text messages also. But I haven't found any advice online that shows you how to take the text messages that people are texting you and use that as a conversion in your ad accounts to get more results faster or more results overall. So that's what we're going to talk about in today's video on how to do that. And of course, by the way, adding a text message option to your landing pages, to your site where you're driving traffic is just a good option, because this is actually getting to be more and more popular all the time that people want to do this. People are more and more antisocial all the time, particularly the younger generation, my age or younger. They don't want to talk to anybody. They would rather text to the phone. And if you're going to make it easy for them to do that, which is their preferred means of communication, as a whole, you'll get more people willing to speak to you. So a lot of cases, in other words, if you give them the option of calling or filling out the form, and versus calling, fill out the form, or text, you're going to get more as a whole picking one of those three options because you gave them that extra option. Given some people just don't want to talk on the phone and they don't want to fill out no damn form because they want to be able to do it their way. And with more people doing this, Particularly if your competitors start doing it and you don't, well, now you have a major disadvantage. But in general, it's just free extra money to get people to text you. And yes, it's a pain in the ass, it seems like, to deal with these text messages, but there's a way to have the text messages just show up in your phone under where it says text messages. And still not lose any of your other tracking mechanisms to track the regular phone calls that come in. So there's no downside to doing this, only upside. So if you've watched some of my other videos, you've seen how asking users to text you, which if you want more about this, you watch my other videos about this, where you could increase the conversion rate from the ad traffic that you're getting from your ad campaigns in the double-digit range, meaning you could get 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% more conversions on the same amount of traffic asking people to text you, particularly in local services, but not just in local services, e-commerce businesses, national services. And I should say, also for you guys that sell a visual product. And just to give you some insight as to that, we had a tattoo removal firm where they said, just text us a picture of your tattoo, we'll give you a quote. Increased the profitability of the campaign upwards of 50%. Drywall repair. Drywall, meaning the stuff on your wall, if you don't know what that is. You get a hole in your wall. You go get a company to come fix it. Well, the company that we were working with figured out through us and in general that we could actually have them text a picture of their hole in the wall to get an instant quote. Given, I know you guys are saying I can't do this, but reality is you probably could. And if you could get 50% more leads for the same ad spend, you could get it close enough even though if you were off a little bit, it would still make up for it with the amount of additional leads you're getting. But in that case, text us a picture of your wall for an instant quote. Similarly, got upwards of 50% more conversions in that case as well. So there's a lot of situations like this where you have a visual product or service itself where you could ask them to send a picture of your situation or whatever and start the communication that way, and that'll get you even more response than just basically saying text us for a quote or text us to set an appointment or what have you. So, and it could be just send us a picture of your flooded basement. We'll get an immediate, and it helps in that situation, say immediate reply on how much or what have you. So anyway, watch my other videos if you want more details on that in general. All I could tell you is you should be asking people to text you because people like this option. There's no reason not to do this in general, particularly for business to consumer markets where you're not selling to other businesses. So with that said, how do you get the most from this? Now that you know that you should be doing this, particularly if you're selling to consumers, you want both of the ways that you could benefit from this for sure, which is A, of course, you get the immediate increase in response or conversion rate from your traffic that you already have by having this text me option. So at least 10% more people start responding as a whole because they have texting. And that will be your typical 10 to 20% more conversions just having this option on your page for most you business to consumer type businesses out there right off the bat or right out of the gate. Now, to get the rest of the benefit, where there's actually even more benefit to you long term, giving that data about who texted into your ad campaign so the ad algorithm can learn from it and get you even more results long term. Because obviously if somebody texts you and you start doing that and then they stop calling as much because they're going to text more, because that absolutely will happen, the algorithm's that pushes your ad and decides if your ad gets shown or not gets shown or somebody else is shown, it'll start getting confused. It'll say, okay, we know a lot about your campaign. And then all of a sudden the conversions go down because even though you're getting more conversions, the phone calls are being replaced by a certain amount of texting. And so your conversions go down, and then whatever it thinks it knows about the campaign, it doesn't know it anymore. Now it has to go back into learning mode, and then your results are really going to be fucked up. So even though you got a 20% increase in conversion rate on the page that you have, assuming the traffic stayed the same, you'll actually lose more than that when the algorithm shits the bed and doesn't realize what's going on and has to go back into learning mode. And whatever it knew about your customers, now you don't have that anymore. It's not being shown by the same people as it was before, which were perfectly profitable people, but it just didn't see what you saw. So in other words, if you're going to do this, there's really no other option other than to have your texting leads tracked by your campaigns and by your ad accounts, because if you don't, whatever upside that you're going to have by having this added, whether you have them text you a photo or text you in general, is going to be washed up by not having the same data quality of data that they had before, and not seeing, in other words, as many leads coming through as what they did before. So certain things that they thought worked, they're not giving you anymore, and it balances itself out, or probably even worse, probably tends you downwards compared to where you were before. Respectively, any changes in your ad account or the algorithm gets confused, you could see major repercussions from that, which is why you never want to make changes without carefully considering what you're doing, that you need those changes, and doing what you can to minimize the sending your campaigns into learning mode. So anyway, with that said, to make sure your campaigns also have this data about the text coming in, so it just simply says, wow, we're getting more results than we had before. Let's start showing your ad to even more people like this. And ultimately, when you say Google or Facebook, I want a $30 cost per lead, and now it gets 20% more leads than it had before, it's going to start saying, oh, this works now. It didn't work before, but this works. And instead of getting 20% more conversions overall because you have a higher conversion rate from the traffic you have, it'll start sending you more traffic. Now you have 40% more conversions because it's going to add to the amount of traffic that can get you a cost per lead at the cost per lead you want. And of course, every click is going to convert it at a higher rate now. So you earn two ways. Furthermore, there's actually going to be three ways you earn, because ultimately the higher conversion rate you get, the higher the quality score you're going to get on these ad accounts, which means the lower cost per click you're going to have. So if you add that in, you're going to pay less per click, which allows you to get more conversions at the same cost per conversion that you needed at again. Now you're earning three ways. Now you can make 50-60% more money than you had before off of this one thing. So anyway, without diverting and going into the background stuff here, here's how you get the text track. It's really simple. You open a Callrail account, or you start tracking your phone conversions if you haven't already. That's the first thing you always got to do. If you don't have a phone number on your site, do it, because there's a certain amount of people, at least 10% of the people you deal with, won't do business with you if they don't see a phone number on your site, so they know if you rip them off, they can call it bitch. They don't want an email, and then, because they know through email it's not easy, it's easy to ignore them. So you add a phone number, get the phone number track the phone number through Callrail. Callrail is the best program for this. Then, once you have Callrail set up, for tracking the texting leads through Google Ads, you can track both the phone calls that you get on your landing page or site. So in other words, calls that are, where you get people that come from your ad campaigns to your site that call from a Google ad. The Callrail to Google Ads integration that Callrail provides will track the phone calls you get and the text messaging in the same default goal that's set up. So in other words, if you set up Callrail to track how many people who click on your ad from a Google ad and gets to your site and call, you can set up the Callrail to Google Ads integration. It'll set up a goal inside your Google Ads account for the phone calls and start tracking them automatically through that. If somebody texts you through the same tracking numbers that Callrail provides in that call tracking pool or another tracking pool that you set up, it'll trigger a conversion under that same goal. So in other words, the phone calls and the texting people that text you will show up under the same goal. So in other words, the texting people will be added into the phone calls. So whether they call or text doesn't matter, it'll trigger a conversion either way. So that's the simple way to do that. Now, if you're talking about Microsoft/Bing ads or Facebook ads, it's the same thing. You're going to want to use the Callrail to Microsoft integration and the Callrail to Facebook integration to track the phone calls and texting. And on both of those platforms, it's the same thing. Whether they text or whether they call, it'll show up under a goal that gets set up inside those ad platforms. Okay? So in other words, you don't have to set up a separate goal just for texting because it's automatically included. In general practice here, I would set up a separate phone pool for phone calls, and I would set up a separate tracking number in Callrail for texting, so that later on, if you want to see how many, texts you got, it's just convenient to be able to see calls and then texts separately, if you will. And as texts come in, you'll be able to see your texts come in Callrail at the very least automatically. If you download the Callrail mobile app on your phone, when you get a text, it'll show up there. Or if you want the text to show up on your phone where all the rest of your texts show up, you can use Zapier, which I'll talk about in a minute. Anyway, for any other ad platform, LinkedIn, Taboola, anything else, you're going to want to set up your Callrail to Google Analytics integration, and it's the same thing there. So in other words, you can integrate Google Analytics with the, LinkedIn has its own system. Callrail doesn't have a LinkedIn integration as far as I know today. So you're kind of short on that one. But most other ad platforms, though, that you can't track because Callrail doesn't have an integration, you can track the leads coming in through Google Analytics. So on LinkedIn, to track the phone calls and texting there, what you're going to do is you're going to have your Google Analytics set up, and you're going to have your Callrail to Google Analytics integration set up so that if you get a phone call on your site or a text, it's going to show up under the phone goal that you have set up in Google Analytics. So it'll show up under the same goal, just like with the other integrations. And in Google Analytics, of course, under source medium, as long as you add UTM codes to the end of your URLs on your LinkedIn ads or whatever other ads you're doing, in Google Analytics, it'll say, here's all your traffic from LinkedIn ads, and then here's how many phone calls goals that you got. So it'll add it won't distinguish phone call from texting goals, but at least the texting goals will be in there. So again, in summary, Callrail has direct integrations with Google Ads, Microsoft Ads, Facebook Ads. So with that, you do the integration, and inside your ad platform itself, you can see calls and texts as a part of one goal. Other app platforms that don't have a Callrail integration, you'll track it through Google Analytics specifically, and using the Callrail to Google Analytics integration and tagging your URLs, your ad URLs, where you're saying where to take the traffic to with the UTM tags, using a UTM tag builder, so that when they call or text, you're going to see the goal and then by traffic source in Google Analytics. LinkedIn, Taboola, how many calls/texts by source there, going into the source medium report on Google Analytics. So you can obviously, you always want to just set up the Google Analytics integration anyway, because it's always good to have a secondary point of reference on the calls/texts you get through Google Analytics. I'm always going to set that up in addition to and with, if I'm Microsoft Ads or Google Ads, even if I just run Google Ads, no other ad types, and I could track in Google Analytics, in Google Ads, everything I need to track, I'm still setting up Google Analytics conversion tracking, because Google Analytics also provides some other data. I can slice and dice data and learn about my users in a more in-depth way that I can't do through Google Ads directly. Similarly, by the way, if Google Analytics is set up, you can import goals into Google Ads and set it as secondary, so that you could see if your primary Google Ads tracking is ever broken, because you have a secondary goal that does the same thing in Google Ads, even though it's marked secondary and it won't then be used for the bidding or anything. So that I can see if my primary goal that I need is ever broken, because that number for that conversion will be different than the secondary one that's supposed to mirror the original goal, has a different, the numbers are different there. So that's how to track texting for any other platform. You do it through Google Analytics, okay? LinkedIn, Taboola, anything else. So bottom line, with Callrail out-of-box integrations, text conversions will show up under the call conversion that Callrail sets up in those ad platforms itself. And if you're doing anything outside Bing, Google, and Microsoft, Google, and Facebook, it's done through Google Analytics specifically. So, and I talked about before, the reason why most people don't want text messaging, given there's so much upside, the only downside is you got to deal with texts in addition to calls. And a lot of sales rooms aren't set up to handle text messaging. So with that, obviously in Callrail, they have a nice little dashboard in there. So when a text comes in, you can get an alert right away if you have Callrail open, or you can have the Callrail mobile app downloaded on your phone and get an alert when a text comes in. And then they have pre-written text messages where if they ask about this, you can hit one button and it texts them that. Or if they ask about this, you can hit one button and it texts them this other thing. You can do that. But if it's a smaller business, obviously in that case, then you probably just want to have the text messages going into your cell phone directly under where your SMS, because you'll get a chime when a text comes in. So, you always have your phone on you. You hear when a text comes in. Normally, the text that comes from your website that originates from somebody that came from an ad campaign will show up like any other text does. And you can do that with a Zapier integration. So you simply are going to integrate Callrail with Zapier. You can go to Zapier.com, set up an account, and then have when a text message comes into Callrail, it takes the text message and what they sent and the number it's sent from, like usual, and then sends it to your phone under the text messages there, so that it's like any other text coming in. So you don't have to go into Callrail or have the Callrail app, which would technically, give you an alert when a text comes in. You could just literally have it there with the rest of your texts that come in, and there is no other system, if you will, to deal with. Zapier, the one drawback about Zapier is, and they're really smart about how they do this, they actually have things set up where account's free, but if you want the firing of the goal within 2 minutes or less, you got to pay extra money. In other words, for free, you can have the text messages from Callrail get sent to your phone, like I just was explaining, for free, but it's going to take 15 minutes from the time that the text comes in to the time it ends up at your phone. If you want it to arrive in 2 minutes or less, you got to pay roughly $50 a month. So you may or may not want to do that, but for the amount, just the fact, most of you guys, even for the smallest businesses, getting 10% more leads, you're going to be making more than $50 a month anyway. So why, you've already covered the cost of this. And if you really don't want to pay it, then you download the Callrail app on your phone, and then you just keep that open, and it gives you an alert when a text message comes in anyway, and you could respond within the Callrail app. So it's up to you. So in other words, what you don't want to do typically, unless you are going to respond, there's no way for you to respond quickly anyway. You don't want to, for the best results, wait 15 minutes to get a text and then to respond, because after 15 minutes, statistically, 2/3 of the people that text you aren't going to respond, because they're at that point in time, generally speaking, going to be on to doing other things. Now they're washing the dishes. Now they're eating or whatever. And then when you text them back, they may or may not even reply. And if they do reply, maybe they've already talked to other companies by then. You want to be on the ball. This is where most companies screw up in terms of when that have a two-step sale where they have to generate a lead, and then that lead has to be turned into a sale. They don't respond to leads quick enough. If you're in a market, it's one thing if you're in a market where you're the best and there's really not any competition, they're going to buy from you anyway. But if you're in a market where there's not that much difference between you and your competition, you have to respond to leads within 15 minutes coming in, whether it's through text, through a contact form fill, a phone call. And because generally speaking, when they respond, if you could call them right away or text them back right away, that's going to stop their quest to contact several companies. Because usually when they do that, they contact one and then they're going to contact another. If you could get them talking before they're talking to anybody else and build rapport with them on the phone, the chances that you're going to close that person skyrockets. So you're going to double your chances at that point, if not triple your chances. And they're going to be highly impressed that they texted you, and 2 minutes later you call them and said, hey, let's talk about your problem. versus calling them 20 minutes later, it literally does make that difference. You could look up these stats. It's the same stats for contact form fills. Look up the average closing rate on a contact form fill from the time that the user submits the contact form. After 15 minutes, you're less than half the conversion rate than you had if you would have responded within the first 15 minutes. The text messaging is the same way. So you got to respond quickly if you're in a competitive market, because other people might respond quickly, and even if they don't, it's a lot of competition. This is just one way to just have an edge. You respond to them quicker. Make it seem like you care. Stop them in their tracks. Instead of looking at 12 other things, you talk to them immediately. So, and if they're texting, obviously you could text them back right away. You don't have to call them. But if they don't text you back within 60 seconds, or should I say at least 2 or 3 minutes, then you call them right away. That's how you get the most out of your leads. More than anything else, in terms of people that have to generate leads at our PPC firm, people when they don't make money or don't make a profit, it's because, well, it's easy for us to say because we got good PPC strategies, but it's because they can't close leads or their sales process sucks in general. They wait too long to get a hold of leads. They don't follow up leads. That is half of the that will determine, that's literally 50% of what determines whether you're going to make money. How you handle the leads coming in. You can't just willy-nilly wing it. Oh, the secretary will answer it. If they're busy, they'll get to it when they want. No. If you want to make money, particularly in competitive markets, you got to respond quickly, and you got to follow up to 15 times if they don't respond the first time, because a lot of people won't respond the first time when you try to contact them on a form lead, on a text message lead. So you want to edge on your competition, that's your edge. You start to do the stuff that I talk about on this channel in terms of PPC, and you respond quickly, you're going to completely wipe all your competition out at that point in time, in terms of who shows up on Google Ads at least, because you're going to be able to get more out of a lead than anybody else. You're going to be able to pay more than anybody else. You're going to be able to be permanently plastered at the top of Google once you've got all that into place. So that said, I'm going to wrap it up with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. And hey, if you like this video and appreciate it, I would really appreciate it if you would give it a like. And you should also subscribe, as this channel is chock full of information that we use at our PPC agency to guarantee results for our clients, and which we know work every time. So we got to guarantee results for our clients. The stuff that does work, I'm giving it to you here. How much better could it get? You learn and do the stuff that's on this channel specifically, you will be a multi-millionaire as it comes to your business and PPC in the next few years, building it up. I promise you that. If you like the channel, I also have a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog. If you like the channel, you'll love the blog as well. If you have any questions about PPC, about this topic, about any topic, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel, usually within a couple days' time. And finally, if you want somebody, this stuff sounds great, but you don't have time to do it, it's all going to pay for itself, even if you had to pay someone to do it, assuming they do it the right way. This is what we do at our agency. We're so confident these strategies work, they would work if you did them or we did them, but we'll do them and we'll guarantee you results, literally speaking. We'll guarantee you get more results than you have to pay us. You'll make more than what you have to pay us before you even have to pay us. So ultimately, there's no reason why if you don't have time to do it yourself, you wouldn't have us do it, because we're going to wait until you make money before we get paid. For some of you guys, if you have a great business, we'll actually pay. We're willing to invest our ad spend and take a chunk of your business and partner up with you directly, because we know what we're doing is going to work. We'll take our money on the back end in terms of when we raise your sales, we'll take a percentage of your sales forever, and we'll pay for the ad spend even. So, but of course, we don't work with everybody. You got to have a firm foundation on your business, good reviews, that kind of thing. So, but if you want to know if I can work with you directly, contact my agency at guaranteeppc.com. I'd be happy to look your stuff over, and I'd be happy to tell you an estimate of how much we can raise your sales short and long term as well as a price to help you do it, when we would get paid, how much we would get paid, and so forth. So feel free to reach out, but I'll wrap it up with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you on my next video where we have another great strategy for you there. Peace out.